back here with us on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. On day 34 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we've got a big news for you. Russia's Deputy Defense Minister today said Russia will fundamentally cut back operations. It will radically reduce military activity near capital Kyiv and northern city of Chernihiv to increase trust in talks. Today, delegations from Russia and Ukraine met in Istanbul for the first face-to-face talks in more than 2 weeks. Talks went on for about 3 hours. Ukraine's negotiator, in fact, said that Putin-Zelensky meeting is also possible post-Istanbul talks. Meanwhile, Turkish president had urged them to put an end to this tragedy, which has led to over 3.8 million Ukrainians flee to other countries. Joining us on the broadcast this evening to help us understand the situation that we are seeing in Ukraine and Russia right now, we have Ajai Malhotra, former ambassador to Russia. Ambassador Malhotra, appreciate you joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. Firstly, what do you make of the statement that came today after the talks between Russia and Ukraine in Istanbul? Do you see it as a big breakthrough? Do you see it as the beginning of at least the intention to de-escalate?
Yes, I would agree. I think one could call it as a beginning of the end. But we must note that Russia and Ukraine have not yet agreed to a ceasefire. But the understandings that they have reached in the talks in Istanbul today seem to have opened the way for a Putin-Zelensky meeting and to resolve the ongoing crisis. So yes, it is certainly a positive development. And as you pointed out, the Deputy Defense Minister has clarified that Russian forces would be stepping back. And in fact, they have started stepping back at Kiev and Chernihiv. That brings in a certain element of trust while the discussions continue. And yet they have clarified also that they would focus on the eastern part of Ukraine towards the south, on Donbass in particular.
And what do you make of the other statement that we got today from Ukraine's negotiator, who said that there can be a meeting between Putin as well as Zelensky after Istanbul talks that went on for about 3 hours? Meanwhile, Ambassador Malhotra, we also got some reports suggesting, as per a Ukrainian reporter, that talks that began today, they started without a handshake. In fact, there was a very cold welcome. So what do you make of these other statements that have also come?
The point is negotiations are still underway. This is, as I said, the beginning of hopefully the end process, but many things still need to be resolved. And yet you can see the trend is in the right direction. If you look at it from the Russian viewpoint, as far as we know, Ukraine would come around to agreeing to not have any foreign military bases or military contingents on its soil. It will agree to be a denuclearized country with a neutral status and will drop its NATO aspirations. So those are important gains for Russia. Equally for Ukraine, there are gains out there. In exchange for its neutrality, it hopes to secure some sort of analogous guarantees to NATO's Article 5, which say that if a country is attacked, it has a right to demand immediate consultations within 2 days. And if diplomacy fails, then the parties to the agreement must provide military aid to the country concerned. In this case, discussions have also gone on about guarantor states. Talk is about USA, UK, France, Germany, Turkey, maybe Italy, and some others. So in one sense, even though it would not be joining NATO, Ukraine would also have equivalent assurances available to it. So there's a bit of advantage that all see. And yet the main issue, what to do with the areas under dispute, that is yet to be resolved. And here I refer to Crimea. The Ukrainians are saying that this will be settled exclusively through bilateral talks within 15 years and without resort to military means. That means only through political and diplomatic efforts. And the second being Donbass. On Donbass, the Ukrainians have been saying this is for the meeting of the two leaders. When Zelensky and Putin meet, then only can we take that forward. So that is a present state of play. There's work to be done, but at least things are heading in the right direction, and therefore it is a noteworthy development.
Okay, things are moving in the right direction. That's what your view is. And Ambassador Malhotra, now we know, what Ukraine has been demanding in the talks that have happened so far between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine has been very clear that it needs a ceasefire. It is also seeking that complete withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukraine. But what the Russian side has indicated today is talk of a mere de-escalation, and we still do not know what is it that Russia really wants, because when it all started, it appeared that Russia only had a problem with Ukraine, with the possibility of Ukraine joining NATO. When Ukraine dropped that ambition too, yet things did not, become easy between both the countries. So how do we then see what Russia really wants with the kind of statements that are coming? And will Ukraine really agree if there is no complete withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukraine?
Well, I, for one, do not believe there will be immediately a complete withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukraine. Crimea question doesn't arise for right now. It has been absorbed into the Russian constitutional system. And even Luhansk and Donetsk, the two People's Republics, Russia has only recently recognized them as independent. I think that is why the negotiators have said, let's leave these to the leadership. Meanwhile, let's try and work out the rest and try and put in place something that is heading towards a ceasefire. Now, you asked, what are the issues of concern to Russia? Beyond NATO, and you see, it all depends on the timeline. Initially, Zelensky was not willing to say that Ukraine would stay out of NATO. And only later on he came around to it. And let's not forget that Zelensky also made a statement on the 19th of February at the meeting in Munich, the security meeting in Munich, where he spoke of revisiting the issue of Ukraine having nuclear weapons. So these are all causes of concern. For Russia, the main issue is it does not want, one, missile forces, and especially nuclear missile forces, or any nuclear forces in its immediate neighborhood. And two, it wants to have control over who all can deploy forces in its immediate neighborhood in Ukraine. Now, till that is sorted out, I think this will continue. But we have at least a movement in the right direction. I think if things continue in the same way, you would work for
All right, Ambassador Malhotra, appreciate you joining us here on Urban Debate and sharing with us your perspective on this big development that has taken place between Russia and Ukraine. Of course, there are signs that de-escalation process could actually begin soon. While the latest round of talks between Ukraine and Russia may have ended on a promising note, the situation on the ground is far from normal. Lviv, the unofficial capital of the internally displaced country, is seeing an exodus of its own residents as Russians targeted an oil depot on Sunday. Lviv Central Railway Station is seeing a wave of refugees and residents waiting for rescue trains to ferry them out of the country. My colleague Deepa gets us this report that tells you about the plight of residents that he got from there who have now become refugees in Lviv. Take a look.
To show you an example of the kind of humanitarian crisis the Russia-Ukraine war has caused, we're standing here in Lviv's main station. Several trains and of course buses are bringing thousands of refugees each and every day. All of them who've left their homes, all of them who've left their friends, their family, and now hoping from either to find some sort of shelter in Lviv or to move to other neighboring countries from here. And this of course is serving as one of the transit areas in Ukraine, which has of course up until now been considered pretty much safe, but now consistently every couple of hours we hear air raid alarms that have been going on. Of course, 2 days ago there was an attack as well that took place here, a missile attack on a fuel depot. But here you can see the kind of people that have come in here and the kind of help that's being provided to them as well. Multiple stalls that have been set up, some of them providing food. You can see each and every person who's come here, of course, you can see how exhausted they are. Long train journeys, long bus journeys, being stopped at multiple checkpoints. Some of them, of course, in need of medical help as well. All of that is being provided in this area, and each and every day here, thousands of people finding shelter, food, medicine, and much more. And of course, after this, they are trying to organize, coordinate with some of the NGOs that are present here and some of the volunteers who are helping them get into Poland or the other borders. And from there, of course, we've been bringing multiple reports as to how people are being helped. So overall, of course, it's a huge humanitarian crisis here. A lot of people who we've been speaking to, of course, are saying that the only thing that they wish is for this war to end and for them to go back to their homes.
2 Russian missiles hit the western city of Lviv in Ukraine on Sunday, just 80 kilometers from the Polish border. 2 air-launched precision missiles struck a fuel depot, shattering the peace in the so far untouched part of Ukraine. The strike set the depot ablaze, taking 14 hours and almost 100 firefighters to bring the situation under control. The residents close to the area are now in a state of shock and terror. My colleague Deepak brings to you this report.
We are here in the Lychokivsky area here in Lviv. I can hear, and I'm going to pause talking for a couple of seconds, and you can hear the air sirens that have just gone off at this point in time. As you can see, because of the sirens that have gone off, you can see the dogs in this particular area panicking. Some of the people, of course, have just, moved out of some of their homes. They are trying to, get into safer places. We should understand that Lviv predominantly at this point in time did not have a situation like this where there were consistent air sirens or people panicking. But of course, after the explosions that took place at the fuel depot just a few hundred meters from where I am, which of course damaged multiple houses that you're seeing in this particular locality, people in these homes, of course, had to move to their basements if available, or move to the neighbors' basements as well. So as these sirens, of course, go off, it is a tense situation now in Lviv, which was considered predominantly an area safe for the refugees, either in transit or to even come here and find some sort of help in terms of medicines, in terms of even food, and also, of course, transiting to the Polish border from here. Several journalists and several other representatives from NGOs and other organizations helping in humanitarian aid as well have, of course, taken shelter in Lviv. And now, air sirens going off here and, missile attacks here, of course, has definitely caused a big reason for worry.
And Deepak also spoke to a young resident of the town near the fuel depot that was targeted. Here's what he told us.
Do you feel scared to be here? Do you have a plan to maybe, seek refuge in Poland or any other countries, or do you feel safe?
I say that this is my country, this is my city, and I don't want to leave our country because it's too hard. There are my friends, there are my family, and I can't.
What's your name?
Nastya.
Thank you. Well, you heard her. She says she doesn't want to leave home, but at the same time, of course, she says, what happened a couple of days ago did instill a lot of fear in not just her, but hundreds of others living in this particular locality.
My colleague Pradeep Datta has also been in Ukraine. He visited Poland as well. He's been bringing to us reports from what is happening on the ground. Here's his report on how a Ukrainian military truck was reduced to rubble in Kyiv.
Look at condition of this vehicle. This is completely mangled, twisted metal. No one can say that this was truck. See what has happened to truck because of Russian shelling. Intense shell was fired from Russian side that exploded here, because of which the truck was completely damaged and destroyed. When you look at this truck, you can never ever think that this was once a truck, because totally it is mangled, it is damaged, it is almost, the spare parts are littered all around on roadside. this is what has really been happening for the last several days. 1 month of Russian war on Ukraine means death, destruction and devastation. Everywhere you will find devastation by Russian side. They are trying their level best to make Ukrainians surrender, but so far they haven't succeeded. Look at the condition of this truck. That narrates the whole story. That narrates the story of devastation. That narrates the story of death. That narrates the story of trauma. That narrates the story of tragedy. That is almost every day taking place. See, look at this. This all truck. And also there are also, look, now I'll show you. You'll also see several of these bullets being fired from Russian side. These are those bullets. These are those bullets. That shows the kind of infighting that has taken place. Almost, these are heap of bullets lying here. These are all bullets. That shows the situation here on ground. Right now, what I'm touching, these are all bullets. These are bullets being fired from both sides. And see how befitting response is being given by Ukrainian troops. Wherever they have tried to enter inside Kyiv, they had been given befitting response. And these heap of bullets really shows that how the Ukrainians are fighting against mighty Russian army. Mighty Russian army is trying to enter inside Kyiv. It's more than a month, but they haven't succeeded. Initially, when they started this invasion, they must have thought it is a matter of only 48 to 72 hours. But nothing of that sort has happened. They're using hypersonic missile. They're firing ballistic missile. They're using a cruise missile. They're trying to target whatever they can. But so far, they haven't succeeded in entering inside Kyiv. And here you can see that this is basically the picture of destruction. This is the picture of devastation. That is where everywhere you can find. And you can see this is the part of that shell that had landed here. This is the part of the shell that had landed here. This exploded and this led to what really happened to this vehicle. This is not the only vehicle. Many such vehicles have been destroyed. Many such vehicles have been damaged.
And Ukraine is also winning hearts across the world for pulling off a strong resistance against the mighty Vladimir Putin-led Russian troops. Russian troops have been pushed back from Kyiv's suburbs. Pradeep Datta takes us through the roads of Kyiv and how the situation is there right now.
During last few hours, several attempts have been made by Russian troops to enter inside Kyiv. They are just few miles away now. They're trying their level best, and you can see that how some of their vehicles that were trying to enter inside Kyiv have been set ablaze and burnt by Ukrainian troops. This is one of the vehicles that has been set ablaze and burnt by Ukrainian troops. So they are trying to prevent their entry inside Kyiv area, that the capital city, and all efforts are being made to properly plug entry and exit points. All efforts are being made to prevent any movement of the Russian troops inside Kyiv capital, because they're trying their level best. They're trying to target civilian areas. So far as the Ukrainian forces are concerned, they are trying to ensure that somehow their movement is stopped, their advance in this area is stopped. That's what they're trying to do. So that's one of the reasons you'll find that several barriers have been raised, several obstacles have been raised. And see, one more vehicle has been burnt. The one more Russian vehicle has been burnt. Already the video has also been released where it has been seen that how drones were used to target 4 of the Russian tanks, and they were completely demolished and damaged with the help of drone strike.